Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So I won't be going live tonight, but I wanted to do this video because there are quite a few new people coming into the live streams. Mad love and respect for all the new subscribers passing through to the Traders Reality family of pattern watchers. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's roll with it. What are we going to talk about tonight? Clues for moves, ladies and gentlemen. What is it about these vector candles that I'm always going on about? So this video is going to help you understand their purpose so that when you do see these candlesticks arising, you'll start to see things differently. So, the rule of thumb says, go over here. When price rises, we know it's Mr. Market Maker building his shorts. When it drops, we know he's closing his profits on his shorts and opening longs at the same time. The only way he's able to do that, ladies and gentlemen, is by trapping the traders in the belief that price is going up. They've got margins and liquidations right here. And because they don't pay themselves, and when they see price moving higher, they get excited. They become euphoric. They become greedy at this exact point, which is where Mr. Market Maker initiates the stop hunt rise and then comes back down. You see, the stop hunt is the solidification for the same reason why these guys right here will always keep their trades open, because they believe they're onto a big move. And whatever happens, if price comes all the way back down again, it's still going to go up because they believe they've caught the right move. Well, Mr. Market Maker will bring price all the way back down again, make the same traders that stayed in the trade get liquidated, and then make them change direction for Mr. Market Maker to do the same thing again. Now, with that understanding, ladies and gentlemen, the best way for you to really focus on vector candles is like this. When you see a green vector candle forming, it means that Mr. Market Maker is aggressively filling orders to the upside. You can't buy if no one sells, and you can't sell if no one buys. So if we take this into consideration right here, okay, you can see that they've initiated a W formation. Now, I spoke about this last night in the stream. I shared this with the patrons on a video that I gave them on a Saturday. Just for the record, ladies and gentlemen, please do not join the Patreon this side of the month. Wait until the end, till the start of a new month, because you'll be charged twice. I had to say that. But this is what I was talking about. We were trying to understand why the presence of vector candles were going to lead to a move to the upside. You see, when Mr. Market Maker goes long, he has to hit prices lower, because the only way that he can get his long filled is if there is someone selling. Okay? Because if there's no one selling, he can't buy the contract from those traders. You see, when you sell and go short, you are shorting. And the transaction that happens when you close your short is a buy to cover. All right? The only person that's able to buy when price is dropping is Mr. Market Maker, especially at these speeds when you see this candle. So coupled with the idea of the vector candle, how are we to understand that Bitcoin was going to bounce from this point? Now, these lines right here were indicating the previous support and resistance point that Bitcoin was at last year. Okay, and if it was able to come away from that point, then we would likely see Bitcoin formulate this structure and move higher into the range. Okay, purely through the utility of the vector candles themselves. So let's zoom out, go to the daily chart and look at the zone that I'm talking about. It's this area right here, this zone. Bitcoin that weekend came down into this area here. Came down a little bit more, but then it managed to bounce from this consolidation area. So if you were to simply just take this, ladies and gentlemen, and mark it off and send it all the way over to the chart, to the hard right, you'll have an understanding of where you are in terms of consolidations, because this is the last point that Bitcoin was trading from before it moved back up. Okay? Now, let's go back into the time frame where it actually moved away from the zone. Look at this. The red vector candle, Mr. Market Maker going long. He goes long again and again and again and again, right? Your focus, ladies and gentlemen, is the longer the candlestick, the faster the move, the more manipulation there is. Why? Because Mr. Market Maker wants to move price down lower when the vector candle is longer. When it starts to shrink and it starts to just behave like this, something's going to change. And we would understand that as a stopping volume candle, something similar to this candlestick right here. So you have the normal vector candles, like the red one here, the green one, okay? And you have a violet one, and you have a blue one as well, okay? But the stopping volume candle is a candlestick where Mr. Market Maker had sent price before to a zone, and he didn't want to release the liquidity too fast, so he brings price back down again. In other words, he traps the traders long and reverses price back down, okay? Now, the way that you can use these candlesticks to your advantage is when you do see a green vector candle, the first thing that you need to say to yourself, where is the green vector appearing? Is it appearing below moving averages or is it appearing above moving averages? Have we got vector candles appearing already in the zones? Yeah? Do we have the impression of 3 in the charts? 1, 2, 3. Mr. Market Maker works in 3s, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Because this is what happens to the retail trader. He sees price move up. He then says, I don't trust this. We're in a bearish market. Okay? Comes back down. He's like, yeah, I thought I was right. And then it starts to move up again. And then he's like, oh my God, what if this is actually not a bearish market anymore? What if I've actually caught the start of the bullish run? It's going down. Oh, actually, it's actually stayed in this zone. You know what? If it moves up a little bit more, I'm going to get involved. It then starts to move higher and higher. It takes out the previous high that he decided that was not the right place for him to go long. He then notices that price action starts to transact aggressively. So what does he do? He changes his narrative and says, forget it. I'm missing out on the move to the upside. He goes long in this area, which is why when you see green vector candles appearing at the highest point in the chart or in the visible range, and they don't really achieve a movement higher and go anywhere, that's the stop hunt, ladies and gentlemen. That's that candle right there. But to the naked eye, they would look at this and say, that is a green candle. That is a powerful candle. All right? Now let's just get rid of all of this. Okay? And a practice that I like to get people to go into is this. Now that you know what's in front of you in terms of vector candles, how about you get rid of the vector candles? Where are the vector candles now, ladies and gentlemen? Can you distinguish the difference between what candlestick is a vector or not? To the trained eye of the hybrid system, you would understand that this point right here would be Vectorville. Okay? We go back into that. Vectorsville right there. Let's just really pick a different point in the chart. I don't care where. I'm just going to pull up a random spot. I don't know where I'm looking. And I'm going to make out and understand if there's vectors in this range. So let's just go to here. Okay, what is this? August 20th. Okay, it's August the 17th, 2020. Okay? So let's play the game. Where are the vector candles? Well, I would assume that these candlesticks right here would be vectors. That would be a vector point. This would be a vector point. And of course, we'll go with the obvious, so this would be a vector point. Okay? So, if they're vectors, happy days. If they're not, mad love and respect, I quit trading. Oh, there we go. 2 out of 3. Happy days. So first green vector candle was right here. This one right here wasn't a vector candle. But this one right here was a vector candle. All right? How were we able to know? I just randomly pulled a point in the chart. Had no idea where I was going. I'm on the 1 hour time frame. We know from the big pushes, from the size of the candlestick, because it's only the market maker that can allow that thing to happen. Because behind this is an influx of orders hitting the charts. Traders are rushing to go long. And he fulfills that obligation. Okay? Now let's jump forward and understand price action today. So, with Bitcoin's price action, we need to understand what's going on in the range. What vectors do we see? We see vectors to the upside right here. Cool. Mr. Market Maker's been running his shorts. Where are the key whole and half numbers? This is how we use the vectors. So the whole number up here, ladies and gentlemen, is the 21,000 zone. Again, yesterday's video, in the live stream, we spoke about the whole and half numbers, at how Mr. Market Maker likes to build his positions above and below key notable areas. So he then starts the game by marking price higher above the key notable area, which in this instance was 21k, and then he initiates a stop hunt and then brings it back down again. That is exactly what had happened here. Some of you would look at this and say, yeah, but Tina, that looks like a head and shoulders. Happy days, it probably does. And it looks like a variation on an M. Cool. FTD in this zone. principle would say that Bitcoin's going to go lower. Yeah? But just pay attention to the way they've actually moved price. They've built the shorts above the key notable area. They didn't release price above the 200. So people that were looking at the 200 EMA would wait for the 200 EMA for initiation of a short. But traders who watch the hybrid system, who understand the hybrid system, okay, would understand that they were going short from these zones right here. In other words, they would be preparing to go short from here. And there are probably people that were running shorts from this point and then fill in their bag at the highest point right here in anticipation for price to go lower. You see, the way you can manipulate the vector candles when you see their presence is like this. When you start seeing vector candles appearing above moving averages, it means market makers trying to shift out of the range. So you look to the next moving average if there is one, and you look left to determine if there are any vector candles in the range. So we look left and we see vector candle up here. They didn't take the whole vector candle, but with the confluence of the 200 EMA and the US Brink session stop hunt rise, because they already made the move right here and they didn't follow through with this candle up here, you would go into the agreement and say, right, we've recovered the vector candle over here. We are now expecting them to sell off. Why? Because this is a previous point that they aggressively sold from. For them to actually continue higher and entice traders to go long, they would need to go into this zone right here. Okay? That zone right there would encourage many traders to run longs. Why? Because that's the same spot that they sold from. It makes sense, doesn't it? It's all about where Mr. Market Maker decides to plant the impressionable candlesticks, the big moves in the chart, which are designed to make traders do something. Okay? Always ask yourself the question, why is it when price makes a big move to the upside, that is where it turns? Okay? Now, looking at Bitcoin's price action right now, ladies and gentlemen, we need to understand that when we see vector candles, we also understand that why they go back to them. Why? Because they're building positions against the traders who are long, and they're getting ready to fulfill that obligation and come back down again and realize a return on their shorts and build longs at the same time. Okay? But what you can see right here, ladies and gentlemen, is an interesting zone. Okay? This is a very interesting zone. Why? Because these are vectors that have not been fully recovered yet. It would be deemed as an imbalance. What is an imbalance? It's when you do see these big moves where they come away from the norm of price action. Okay, this is the norm of price action right here. Then you see an aggressive move. That's an imbalance in the chart. And the principle says that price is going to come back to those points of imbalances to balance the market. Okay. Now, going into Asia tonight, ladies and gentlemen, and of course we have ourselves, I believe, US session is closing in an hour or so. So be mindful. If Bitcoin cannot hold this range right here, which it rejected the daily open, okay, it may look to go lower and test some of this zone. The psychological high is in sight. If you look at Ethereum, I haven't looked at Ethereum, but I can imagine, yeah, there it is. Ethereum is going to start working its way into this range. If it comes to its psychological high, then it's going to rip into this area because that's where the transactions were, where they had previously built their positions shorts, and they're going to want to realize those plays, which could then lead Ethereum down even lower. So mark these points off in the chart so that you are not blindsided by vectors and blindsided by narratives on social media. You might read an article that says Bitcoin to the moon and you think, oh my God, I don't want to be involved in any shorts. And then you realize price makes that move to the downside and you wish you hadn't read that article. Always highlight where it can go up or where it can go down. I'm not going to lead you into one narrative, ladies and gentlemen, because you'll just label me a perma bull or a perma bear. Okay? And you won't be able to get anything. Even if I were to say to you, Bitcoin's going to shoot up, you would still challenge that. You'd say, well, why won't it go down? Tell me why it won't go down, Tina. Why are you just focusing on the longs? You're too much of a perma bull, man. Get out of my face. I'm not interested in you. I have to give you both scenarios because the market changes ever so quickly. We could be looking at Ethereum right now, waiting to recover this blue vector candle right here, which tells me Mr. Market Maker may be slowing things down. But he could be slowing things down at this point in time. He may need to bring price back up because in this area here, this is where traders were transacting the most at. Some of you might actually pull up the volume profile and say, okay, is that the point where they transacted the most at? Let's just take the volume profile for this little range. Look left, high volume nodes. So naturally, if they go down lower, they're going to get more interest in here. That tells me that Mr. Market Maker is able to build more shorts in this area. Now look, he's trying to move it back down again because he's done his obligation in this area here. So when you look at Bitcoin and say to yourself, well, can Bitcoin go down lower? Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It can. And you know what? So what if it does? That's okay if it goes down. Why? Because it won't be going to anywhere that we would think is a surprised play. It's a surprising point. There's the psychological high. We know the psychological high is the first high and the first low that is formed at the start of a trading week. This is the market maker's spread that he plays his positions from for the rest of the week. Our goal is to exploit that. Okay? The fact that they've traded away from the psychological ranges and not moved that far away from them is a big sign that they could be coming back into this range. So to finalize, ladies and gentlemen, when you see green and red vector candles, remember, they are Mr. Market Maker fulfilling the obligation of the trader who is going long. He always goes opposite. Best way for you to understand it is look at this drawing, okay? This is where retail traders go long, in this box. Mr. Market Maker is going to give the order opposite because it's a zero-sum game. You can't get profit on a position from the market maker which is a long. Doesn't make sense. You're both in profit that way, and there's profit in the chart, but you can't claim it. Why? Because there's no capital against your position for you to take it off. Remember, when you go long and you're in a profit of $100, Mr. Market Maker's position against you is negative $100. So that $100 loss that he is in is cancelled out with this $100 gain that you are. You close your trade, you take that $100. Happy days. Likewise, if you are in a loss of $100 and you're in a short and Mr. Market Maker is in a long against your position, you close your trade, he takes your $100 or he forces you into liquidation. Yeah? That's how the business model works. So for anybody new to the channel, put in the comment section if there's anything else that you want me to talk about. All right? There is loads to get through, guys. But just focus on the vector candles. The candlesticks give you the clue that Mr. Market Maker is setting things up. Okay? Focus on big green vector candles. Focus on big red vector candles. And listen, even if you just focus exclusively on a couple of segments of the hybrid system, you're still good. Look. If you just wait for big green vector candles to appear above key notable areas, you can base your trades off them. So just look at this. Big green vector candle appearing. At the close of this candlestick, if the next candle doesn't follow through, you would run a short in there. This is on the 1 hour time frame. Goes all the way down. How much of a move is it? Here we go. From this point right here. That's a $782 move. Happy days on the basis that you go on the open of this candle. You run a short. So you see a little bit of a deviation against you. But you would have made a 782 gain move on Bitcoin. Likewise, another green vector candle here. What did it do? Came up. You would have gone short on the close of the candle. You would have seen a little bit of a drawdown. And bang, they would have recovered it. Look at this one. This one came up. But the next candle flew through. So you would be waiting. Why? Because they'll be coming back into that vector candle point. Yeah? Look at today's price action. Green vector. They come back into it. Today, green vector. They come back into it. Now we've got the red vector candle right there, but they're not ready to come to that yet. Not ready. Why? Because they already had the chance to come back into it and they didn't follow through. They retraced 50% of the vector. Now, of course, the more you watch the streams, then you'll start to understand there are more complexities behind the hybrid system, okay? Which you'll just need to hear me say to you over and over again for it to sink in. And when you have the charts in front of you in real-time price action, it's going to make life easier for you. But like I said to you, for anybody new, get into the practice of understanding what these candlesticks do at certain points, all right? Go in the charts and mark off all of the vector candles, yeah? Like this one. Goes short, runs it up again, closes longs. Yeah? So look. He goes short, he closes them, builds his longs, goes short, closes them, builds his longs, closes his shorts, builds his shorts, closes them, goes long, and repeats the same thing over and over again. Don't get too caught up on, oh, Tina, they didn't recover that vector candle all the way back in January 2012. Don't worry about that. As day traders, your goal is to try and find something you can exploit from the visible range. In the visible range right now, ladies and gentlemen, we have these two vector candle points in the chart. And that's the truth right there. These are the only two vectors that they haven't fully recovered yet. And this is for this week's trading week. We've got this zone down here as well. These are the vectors. Now make your decisions. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are new to the channel, mad love and respect for passing through. I'll be checking in with you all tomorrow, 2 p.m. GMT, to bring that fire to you one more time for the midweek reversal for Thursday. We can, of course, anticipate that if Bitcoin does come down today, ladies and gentlemen, or even into tonight, we would expect tomorrow to be the midweek reversal. Have yourselves a wonderful evening, pattern watchers. Got nothing but love for you all. Take care of yourselves. Peace.